You should hear what keeps him up at night.
This is what keeps me up at night. I don't understand how my fellow Americans, I don't even understand how this election is close. And yes, I'm voting for you, but I would also vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. To keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
Howard Stern once built an empire by being loud, rebellious, and fearless. He was the voice people turned to when they were tired of fake smiles and polite lies. He made millions by saying what no one else would dare to say. But now, everything has changed. The man who used to tear down the walls of polite society is now sitting comfortably behind them. And when Greg Gutfeld exposed that change live on air, Stern had nothing to say in return. No jokes, no insults, just silence. The kind of silence that feels heavier than any words. Greg Gutfeld didn't scream. He didn't throw a tantrum. Simply described what had happened. Howard Stern had gone from a shock jock to a soft celebrity. He used to call out phoniness. Oh, he lives in it. Gutfeld pointed out the irony in Stern calling it exhausting to have dinner with celebrities. Not because he was working hard, but because being around other rich people made him tired. The same man who once mocked luxury and fake Hollywood charm now surrounds himself with it daily. It was all said in a calm, cold voice. Gutfeld didn't need to yell. He just laid out the facts. Stern now lives in a $20 million beach house. He stayed hidden for 2 years, afraid of the world. Meanwhile, everyday people were out working, raising families, and trying to survive the chaos. But Stern, once the fearless radio host, couldn't leave his mansion. That was all Gutfeld had to say. The message landed hard. This wasn't just about politics or media. It was about identity. Howard Stern used to be the rebel, used to be the one calling out hypocrisy, tearing down the fake smiles, and pushing back against powerful people. But now he sits among them. He hosts polite interviews with actors and laughs at their jokes. He talks about his cats and his favorite wine. The man who once called out the system now is the system. Gutfeld showed the difference. He showed the old Stern the man who wore black leather, cursed at the elite, and told the truth no matter how ugly. Then he showed the new Stern the man who defends wokeism, praises vaccine mandates, and worries about offending celebrities. It was a brutal comparison, and Stern had no defense. On his own show, Stern said that being called woke was a compliment. He said it meant he believed in science, supported transgender rights, and hated Donald Trump. That's fine, Gutfeld said. But what happened to the man who used to question everything? What happened to the guy who made fun of everyone left, right? Rich, poor? What happened to the Howard Stern who didn't care what people thought? The answer was obvious. He changed. Not slowly or naturally, but suddenly and completely. Gutfeld said it wasn't growth, it was surrender. Stern gave up his edge to fit in. He traded his bold voice for a safe one. He used to challenge power. Now he seeks its approval. Gutfeld didn't make fun of Stern's past. In fact, he praised it. He said the old Stern was powerful because he told the truth. He made people uncomfortable. He didn't follow the rules. And that made him great. But now, Gutfeld said, Stern is just another voice in a crowd of safe, clean, soft media figures who only say what's allowed. The takedown didn't feel like a fight. It felt like a funeral for the old Howard Stern. Gutfeld didn't need to insult him. All he did was point to the truth. Stern had become what he once hated. The rebel. Had become the ruler. The man who once burned bridges now builds them for celebrities, for elites, for the powerful. He used to be the fire. Now he's just the smoke. Stern's silence said everything. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just sat back. Maybe he didn't know how to respond. Maybe he knew Gutfeld was right. Or maybe he just didn't care. But for the people who watched, it was clear. The king of controversy had lost his crown. Gutfeld's message wasn't just about Stern. It was about what happens to people when they get too comfortable, when they stop questioning, when they stop fighting, when they start caring more about fame and friends than truth. He said that Stern wasn't alone. Others had done the same. Jimmy Kimmel, Joy Behar, Sarah Silverman. They all used to be loud. Now they're all quiet, safe, friendly, boring. He called it blackface reparations, a joke, but also a warning. These same people once did things that today would get them canceled. But now they play it safe. They speak the right words. They follow the script. Gutfeld said maybe they think if they behave, the cancel crowd won't come for them. But he warned it always does. No matter how woke you become, it's never enough. And there it was, the truth. Howard Stern didn't just change, he gave in. He used to be bold. Now he plays nice. He used to fight the system. Now he drinks wine with it. And when someone finally pointed it out, he had nothing to say. Not because he couldn't, but because maybe he didn't disagree. The contrast between Gutfeld and Stern was too big to ignore. Gutfeld is sharp, sarcastic, and fearless. He jokes about everything. He mocks everyone. It's not perfect, but he's still pushing boundaries. Stern, on the other hand, is quiet, careful, afraid. He doesn't push anymore. He floats. Even on the topic of comedy, Gutfeld didn't hold back. He brought up how Stern once joked about everything, even after tragedies. He once said the Columbine shooters should have done worse before killing their victims. It was a dark, ugly joke, but it showed that Stern didn't care who he offended. Today, that same Stern says he doesn't want comedians to joke about politics. He says there's too much at stake. That kind of fear was something the old Stern would have mocked. Now, people don't laugh with Stern, they worry about him. Gutfeld said that years ago. People said Howard Stern is crazy. Today, they say Howard Stern needs help. That change is deep. It's not just about age or money. It's about spirit. The fire is gone. And maybe that's the saddest part. Not that Stern changed, but how he changed. Not with time, but with fear. Not to learn, but to belong. And when the man who used to lead the charge now hides behind the crowd, someone else will step up. Someone like Gutfeld. What made the moment hit even harder was the timing. The world had changed. The media had changed. Audiences were tired of fake smiles and fake outrage. People wanted truth. Even if it came with jokes, even if it came with sarcasm. And here was Howard Stern once, the master of saying what no one else would, now standing quietly in the middle of everything he once destroyed. The silence wasn't just disappointing, it was symbolic. Gutfeld never needed to shout. He didn't try to fight Stern with noise, he fought with calm truth. He laid out the facts. Stern used to mock rich people. Now he dines with them. He used to make fun of celebrities. Now he invites them on his show and flatters them. He once destroyed the idea of being polite on air. Now he makes every guest feel safe. That's not growth. That's giving up. On his show, Gutfeld played clips of Stern talking about the pandemic, about vaccines, about people who didn't want to follow strict rules. Stern's tone was harsh. He said those people didn't deserve freedom. He said vaccines should be forced. Said he didn't care what people thought. But this wasn't bravery. It wasn't truth-telling. It was fear disguised as strength. Gutfeld pointed that out, and people noticed. The old Howard Stern had something. Powerful honesty. It was offensive, rude, inappropriate, but he was real. He didn't hide behind buzzwords. He didn't follow scripts. He spoke from the gut. That's what made him dangerous. That's what made him matter. But now, he speaks like a public service announcement. Polished, careful, predictable. Gutfeld didn't even have to say much. He just showed the change. Even Stern's interviews have lost their bite. Used to press people, make them squirm, ask questions no one else dared to ask. Okay? Now he sounds like a therapist asking celebrities how they manage their stress. Gutfeld joked that Stern went from shock jock to soft rock, and the audience agreed. You could feel the disappointment online, not because people hate Stern, but because they miss him. Then came the moment Gutfeld brought up Stern's recent appearance with Hollywood stars at a trendy restaurant. With Stern sitting with Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, and a table full of celebrities. It's the same man who used to trash these people on air, now sipping drinks with them like they were old friends. Gutfeld didn't have to scream hypocrisy. He just showed the photo. That was enough. Paul remembered the old Stern, and they didn't recognize the one in the picture. When Gutfeld talked about Stern being exhausted from hanging out with celebrities, it wasn't just a joke. It was a truth bomb. Stern once joked about coal miners and factory workers. Now he acts like walking from his wine cellar to his tennis court is hard labor. It's not just out of touch, it's insulting. And Gutfeld exposed it perfectly. This moment wasn't about two men arguing. It was about two worlds colliding. One world where rebellion means something, and one where rebellion is just a brand. Stern used to live in the first world. Now he lives in the second, and everyone saw it. Gutfeld made sure of that. And still Stern said nothing. No tweet, no segment, no joke. Nothing. Just silence. For a man who built his name on speaking out, silence is the loudest confession. Gutfeld didn't gloat. He didn't need to. The truth was already out there, and the people could see it. Stern's fall from rebellion didn't happen all at once. It was slow. Quiet. He started apologizing for old jokes. He started cleaning up his image. He wanted to be respected by the same people he once mocked, and slowly he became one of them. The mask he once tore off others, he now wears himself. Gutfeld pointed out that Stern didn't just change, he erased his past. He stopped being proud of the things that made him famous. He started acting like those years didn't happen, but fans remember. They remember the chaos, the laughter, the raw honesty. And now they look at Stern and wonder, where did it all go? Even during recent interviews, Stern has talked about how important this moment in history is. He said he doesn't want people making fun of politics. He said there's too much at stake. But this is the same man who once joked about everything. School shootings, 9/11s, tragedy after tragedy. Stern said things no one else would. And now he says comedy is too risky. Gutfeld asked the question no one else dared to ask. Is this really the same Howard Stern? Or is this just someone wearing his name? The comparison hit hard. Because it wasn't an attack on Stern's character. It was an attack on his transformation. A transformation that felt fake, forced, strategic. The kind of change you make when you care more about your next dinner, invite than your next idea. Even his old co-hosts have noticed. People who worked with Stern during his wildest years don't recognize him anymore. They say